country listening to the American people. We are listening to workers who tell us that in North Carolina, Vermont, and every place else, people cannot make it on $9 or $10 an hour. You can do the arithmetic as well as I can. Nobody can make it on those kinds of wages. Right now, as you all know, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. That is a starvation wage. Together, we are going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Not a radical idea to suggest that somebody who works 40 or 50 hours a week in this country should not live in poverty. This campaign is listening to senior citizens and disabled veterans. They are telling me is they can't make it on $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? Nobody can make it on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. Many of my Republican colleagues in Congress, they want to cut Social Security benefits. I've got some bad news for them. We're not going to cut Social Security benefits. We're going to expand Social Security. This campaign is listening to young people. And what young people are telling me is why should it occur that they leave school $50,000, $80,000 in debt? I want you, what this campaign is about, again, it's thinking outside of the status quo. Thinking outside of the choices that the media give you. Thinking outside of the box. I want you just to think about this for a second. Everybody in this room, everybody in this country understands that education and learning is inherent in being a human being. And everybody here understands that we live in a very competitive global economy, and if our country is to succeed economically, we need the best educated workforce in the world. And by the way, we once did have the best educated workforce in the world. That is not the case right now. Also, I think most people understand that today, a college degree, in many ways, is the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. We have a public education system which says we're going to give free public education from the first grade through the 12th grade. And 50 years ago, if you got a high school degree, you can go out and get a good paying job. But the world has changed. Today's economy requires more education. And that is why I believe that we must make, when we talk about public education in America, we must make public colleges and universities tuition free. This is not a radical idea. It's an idea that exists in Germany and Scandinavia already and countries around the world. Furthermore, it is an idea that used to exist in this country 50, 60 years ago. Number two, we've got millions of people in this country, some young, some not so young, who are being crushed economically by student debt. There are people paying 30, 40, 50% of their incomes in student debt, paying back those loans. There are people who are paying those loans decade after decade. I think that is absolutely crazy. We should not be punishing people for getting an education. We should be rewarding. Legislation which would allow people who have student debts to refinance those debts at the lowest possible interest rates they can find. And that would significantly reduce student debt in this country. Now, my critics, and there are many of them, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, all these establishment entities, they say, well, Bernie, you're Santa Claus, you're a nice guy, giving away all of this free stuff. How are you going to pay for it? Well, let me tell you how we are going to pay for it. All of you know. And again, this is why it is important to think outside of the status quo. Don't accept what other people, establishment people, tell you is normal. Let me give you an example. What is considered to be normal is that people in this room have $50,000, $100,000 of student debt for getting a good education. That's normal. But what is considered to be okay also is that when the greed and the recklessness and illegal behavior on Wall Street helped drive this economy into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, Congress bailed out the crooks on Wall Street. That was normal. That was okay. I mean, just think about it. Why would you not bail out the most powerful, greedy group of people in the world? All right, we bailed them out. Now, it is my view, given the enormous profits being generated in the financial industry, that it is absolutely appropriate to place a tax on Wall Street speculation. And if we did that, that would bring in more than enough revenue to provide free tuition at public colleges and universities and substantially lower student debt. Now, Wall Street was bailed out by the Congress. Now, in my view, it is Wall Street's time to help the middle class. But here is the point. Helping the middle class, making sure that colleges are affordable for all of our people, that is a radical and crazy idea. Bailing out crooks on Wall Street who destroyed the economy, well, that's not such a radical idea. I think some people have their priorities backwards. This campaign is listening to women. Women are telling me, why is it that when they get a job in an office or for a company, they end up making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. And frankly, the only answer that I know of is that that is part of old-fashioned sexism, and together we're going to end them. And I hope that every man in this room stands with the women in the fight for pay equity for women. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And they are asking, and this is a very important issue that all of us have got to focus on. They are asking us, how does it happen in the richest country in the history of the world that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? How does it happen that we have 2.2 million people in jail, disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native American? How does it happen that we are spending $80 billion a year, some of it, by the way, going to private penitentiaries, which I strongly oppose? $80 billion a year locking up 2.2 million people. How does it happen that today, if we do not change this, and we must change it, that today a black male baby born today stands a 1 in 4 chance of ending up in jail because of a broken criminal justice system? All of us are tired of watching videos of unarmed African Americans being killed by police. I was a mayor for 8 years, Burlington, Vermont, largest city in Vermont. I work with police there, and I've worked with police officers all across this country. Vast majority of police officers are honest, hardworking, and have a very difficult job. It is not easy being a cop today, but when a police officer breaks the law, like any other public official, he must be held accountable. We must demilitarize local police departments. We must make police departments look like the diversity of the communities they serve. We must take a very hard look at the so-called war on drugs. In my state of Vermont, and right next to us in New Hampshire, in fact, all over this country, we have a major crisis in terms of heroin addiction and the number of people who are dying and overdosing from heroin and opiates. This is a very serious issue. But in my view, we have got to look at addiction and substance abuse as a healthcare issue.